Donald Trump is a fact-bending loose cannon who alienates mainstream voters with everything he says, but he gets constant media attention, spewing at these people, and people going, I got to believe in something, and he said he'd bring my manufacturing job back. And
I'll let you go back to the airport without giving me an actual answer on this question. What makes Donald...
Because he's not the best case scenario, John. That's my answer.
The courtroom lights seemed unusually bright, but Donald Trump wasn't blinking. He sat stiffly, arms crossed, jaw tight, clearly agitated. Cameras rolled, reporters scribbled, and the country waited. It had been a week of relentless bombshells, but what happened next sent shockwaves through the political and entertainment worlds alike. Without fanfare, actor Jeff Daniels took the stand. The room leaned forward, and in a calm, measured voice, he began to dismantle one of the most fiercely protected illusions of Trump's public life, his marriage. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Daniels wasn't there for theater. He wasn't promoting a film or chasing headlines. He had been subpoenaed as a character witness in a case that, on its surface, wasn't even about Trump's personal life. But the moment he spoke, the narrative twisted. I saw things, he said bluntly.
Donald Trump is a fact-bending loose cannon who alienates mainstream voters with everything he says, but he gets constant media attention. The Republican Party, or a wing of it, going, this is our last chance to save the party.
I heard conversations that made it clear what the world sees and what really goes on behind those gold-plated doors are night and day. For decades, Trump had constructed a fortress of public image. Flashy weddings, tabloid love stories, and glossy photo ops. But Daniels' testimony cut straight through the gloss. According to him, their marriage was more of a transaction than a relationship. There was no warmth, he said, no intimacy. It was like watching two actors who forgot their lines but kept performing because the cameras were still rolling.
I'll let you go back to the airport without giving me an actual answer on this question. What makes Donald...
Because he's not the best case scenario, John. That's my answer. And if we don't, it's the end of the Republican Party. And the only way they can do that was to tap the race button and say, go ahead, it's okay.
Trump, usually bombastic and quick to interrupt, didn't say a word. His lawyers shifted uneasily. Daniels, known for his calm gravitas on screen, brought that same unshakable presence to the witness box. He recounted dinners where Melania would sit in silence, visibly withdrawn, while Trump talked only about ratings, polls, and vengeance. It was never about her. Not really. She was part of the brand, like a logo. He mentioned overhearing Trump make jokes about Melania's accent, about her usefulness, and more disturbingly, about her expiration date. The courtroom gasped. Daniels paused but didn't back down. He said those things like they were normal, like love had nothing to do with any of it.
Donald Trump is a fact-bending loose cannon who alienates mainstream voters with everything he says, but he gets constant media attention. The Republican Party, or a wing of it, going, this is our last chance to save the party.
The judge allowed the testimony to proceed, despite repeated objections from Trump's attorneys. Daniels then spoke about private gatherings in Palm Beach, New York, and even overseas, exclusive events where powerful men compared their spouses like cars. I watched Trump treat marriage like a business deal, something to renegotiate when the terms didn't suit him anymore. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air. Daniels clarified that he wasn't trying to destroy Trump's reputation.
That's what I see when I look at Trump's rallies. That's when I see the lies. At the end of the day, aside from, yeah, I don't want to pay taxes, it's race. It's race. This is about...
That's already been done by the man himself, he said dryly, but he believed the country had a right to know the truth behind the curtain. People think he's this alpha male who commands loyalty and devotion, but behind the scenes, it's different. He doesn't inspire love. He inspires fear and performance. Trump couldn't hold back much longer. His face turned red, his breathing more audible. Finally, he leaned forward and muttered something to his lawyer, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. Daniels continued, revealing how even Trump's closest allies would mock the relationship behind closed doors.
Spewing at these people and people going, I got to believe in something, and he said he'd bring my manufacturing job back. And one of them is there's absolutely no evidence to support the statement that Trump is the best case scenario for Hillary Clinton.
There was one night, he said, where a senator joked that Melania looked like a hostage with a wardrobe budget. And everyone laughed, including Trump. The courtroom reacted with a stunned mix of laughter and horror. Daniels didn't flinch. He said he wasn't shocked by Trump's reaction. He doesn't see people. He sees props. When they stop being useful, he replaces them. He ended his testimony not with a punchline, but with a cold fact. The truth about that marriage is this: it's a performance that's long past its closing night. And with that, he stepped down. No applause, no cameras chasing him, just a deep, echoing silence that followed him out of the room. Trump's rage became visible. He whispered furiously to his team, glancing around the courtroom like he was trying to regain control of the narrative. But control was gone. Outside, the media erupted. Social platforms blew up. Clips of Daniels' testimony went viral. Late-night shows dropped their pre-written monologues to cover it live. The public reaction was immediate and polarizing. Some dismissed Daniels as another liberal Hollywood elite with a grudge. Others saw him as a whistleblower speaking truth to a rot that had been festering in plain sight for too long. But most agreed on one thing. This wasn't just gossip. It was insight from a respected outsider who had seen what many suspected but could never prove. The White House issued no comment. Trump's legal team tried to spin the testimony as irrelevant and defamatory, but it was already too late. A narrative had shifted. Daniels' words were more than a character attack. They were a spotlight into a manufactured image that had fooled millions. And once people saw the cracks, they couldn't unsee them. In the days that followed, news outlets revisited old interviews, public appearances, and awkward moments between Trump and Melania. Suddenly, the side eyes, hand swats, and frozen smiles made more sense. Daniels hadn't just exposed a failing marriage. He had exposed the entire illusion of it. And Trump? He went haywire. According to insiders, he exploded backstage, smashing a phone, yelling at aides, and threatening to bury Daniels in court. But the damage wasn't physical, it was reputational. For a man obsessed with control, image, and dominance, being exposed by an actor on the stand was a public unraveling that no press release could contain. Jeff Daniels didn't gloat. He didn't return for interviews or launch a media tour. He simply told the truth, walked out, and let the silence speak. The country, for a moment, stood still, watching not a movie, but a man who had lived through the performance and finally pulled the curtain back. And behind it stood a marriage not of love or partnership, but of silence, performance, and cold calculation.